Hi. In today's video, I'm going to share with you some tips that I learned from the very best candidates I've ever worked with, interviewing with primarily with FANG companies. And I must be upfront with you, these tips are not for everyone. Okay. Tip number one, if you really want to stand out from the crowd, you might as well consider sharing your story bank with your interviewers before your interview begins. Okay. Why would you do this? Well, this is on the reasoning that not many candidates can achieve a story bank that's qualitative enough by their own standards. So if this is the case for you, then that you would play on your strength going into a job interview. You would sell yourself as a resourceful candidate, and you would contribute to having a qualitative conversation during the job interview. It will be to your favor, again, if you have a story bank that you're proud of. Okay. Tip number two, the very best candidates I've ever coached or trained, they really went to extremes when it comes to being proficient during a job interview. And in one instance, I had someone who was so good with these things that they decided they would literally write all their stories in a conversational format and read their answers from their computer screens during a job interview. Okay, this happened once for a director level role. Okay, he was very successful in getting the job. Okay, and I must stress again here, this is for exceptional candidates, because you'll hear plenty of stories of people rewarding stories with AI or having their bad stories and trying to read them, or making up stories and trying to read them from their screens or cheat sheets. Okay, but in reality, I've only had one instance, and I worked with thousands of people where someone did this and they were for real. They really knew what they were doing. Okay, so it's possible in certain situations. Tip number three, exceptional candidates happen to have some of them happen to have a very commercial mindset or a business mindset, and it's not uncommon to hear for exceptional candidates to give answers to interview questions such as why do you want to work here, with something on the lines of I'm not sure I want to work here as of yet, I'm here to learn more about the opportunity, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if you are someone whose CV allows this and you know how to pitch these things, you might as well consider this too. It's not for freshers, by the way. Okay, point number four, tip number four. Exceptional candidates, statistically speaking, give longer convincing first answers. Okay, now I do agree that longer means very different things to different candidates, but the advice, I believe, is very plausible in the sense that if you are trying to make your answers more concise, you should know that some of the best candidates don't really push all that much in making them as concise as possible versus as convincing as possible. Yes, in some cases, more concise can be more convincing, but statistically speaking, exceptional candidates whom I work with, gave longer convincing first answer. As you would expect, as an exceptional candidate, they already scored high on stuff such as clarity of thought. Okay. But longer convincing first answer is something that you must keep in mind, rhymes with high-performing candidates. Okay, and tip number five here is high-performing candidates don't answer interview questions, but rather answer on behaviors. Okay, what do I mean by this? Well, it simply means that if you're getting asked a question, or maybe give you an example here. Let's say you're asked a question in an Amazon interview, tell me about the time when you had to make trade-offs between quality and cost. Okay, a pretty counterintuitive interview question, trade-offs between quality and cost, right? An exceptional candidate would know that the reason why they ask you this question is because they want to screen you on the behavior or the leadership principle at Amazon, how they called it, frugality. Okay, and an interviewer will have, something that's called BARS, behaviorally anchored rating scale, and they would look for certain clues of good versus bad answers. For example, if you say something on the lines that you maximize available resources, you would score well on frugality, right? If you say that you spend all the money in a budget just because it's there, you will score low on frugality, right? So you as a candidate, when you hear this question, at the time when you had to make trade-offs between quality and cost, you would think about what's the best story I prepared for the job interview on the topic of frugality, and literally couldn't care less about their question, but why they ask it in the first place. And if that question satisfies their strengths that they have to screen you on, that will be great. Some candidates even go further, they would give their best story, say, hey, would this answer satisfy your what you're looking for in terms of frugality? Because I know that's what you're looking for. Okay, so it's no problem if you're upfront that you know why they're asking that question. And an interviewer might say, oh yeah, I satisfy some of them, but I'm not really into all of them. Okay, no problem. I will share another story with you, so you're fully satisfied with what I'm saying, right? And they would still pitch the behavior, not the question that they're asked. Okay, so building listening skills is something that pays extremely well with high-performing companies. So these were my top 5 tips. I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.